So in this episode, come on Shy Guy, sort it out. So in this episode, we're combining two very well-known characters from the world of Nintendo and Marvel. No, not you, Spider-Man. This is the guy, Deadpool. So what do you get when you throw Deadpool and Shy Guy into a Hadron Collider? You get Dead Guy. And obviously, he's going to be armed with Nintendo zappers, which means we are taking him back to the 80s to go shoot some ducks in a classic 8-bit Nintendo scene from Duck Hunt. So without further ado, let's get sculpting. So like all sculpts of this nature, we start off with an armature. I'm using 9-gauge aluminium wire for the skeleton and kitchen foil with a bit of Sculpey to bulk it out a bit. It isn't pretty, but beauty's only skin deep, right? And now it's just about slapping on some medium grey Super Sculpey to get the general shape before scraping and removing clay to define the details. And that is sculpting in a nutshell. Just keep adding and subtracting until you finally reach a point when you say F it, that'll do. Because let's face it, being an artist isn't about being happy with the end result, is it? It's about reaching a point where you feel satisfied enough for the length of time it takes you to walk away from it. But that's okay. The trick is about enjoying the process and making a thought a reality. Cup half full. So let me tell you a little bit about today's video and what to expect in the foreseeable future. I am asking that age-old question. What do you get when you mix Marvel with Nintendo? You get a daft idea is what you get, but one that needs to be explored. So this is the first episode to a series in which we start creating a Nintendo/Marvel universe. They will not be randomly generated. They will be handpicked by me, one popular character from Nintendo and one popular character from Marvel. And I'm going to mash them together to create a never seen before new Super Marvtendo character, as we are all about the multiverse these days. Now that title needs some work, but that's all I've got right now. Now I should mention that I have baked it a couple of times already at this point to make it easier to handle without putting fingerprints on it. But you can see that I have brushed Bacon Bond onto the places that I'm going to add new clay to make sure it adheres. Now I know what you are thinking right now, and you can quit your cackling because there comes a point in almost every sculpting process where it inevitably starts to look like a
Dick!
Yeah.
Take a look out of starboard.
Oh my god, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, where?
Wait, that's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Privates! We have reports of an unidentified flying object. It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with 2 balls.
What is that? That looks just like an enormous...
Wang, pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie,
Yeah.
what's that?
Well, it looks like a giant...
Johnson,
Yes, sir.
get on the horn to British intelligence and let them know about this.
Hello? No. Danger's my middle name.
Of course, baby.
I was just thinking the same. Excuse me? Oh! Who are you?
Oh.
Damn it.
Well, I'm sorry.
All right, Baldy. Shut your cake hole.
I also like to live dangerously. Oh, behave. Yeah.
Alright, let's get serious now and get some arms on there so he can start to look like what he's supposed to look like. Shy Guy is kind of shaped like a penguin, and penguins don't have hands, which is a bloody good thing because we all know sculpting hands sucks. So just need to blend that in a bit more and move on to the back of the hood. Well, I think you can call it a hood, but it doesn't have a hole for a face. Or does it? Stick around, you might just find out what a Shy Guy's face actually looks like and why they conceal it behind a mask. And there's a strap for said mask to hide that ugly mug. Comment below and tell me what you think his face looks like. I just used a clay extruder for this strap. Definitely recommend one of these tools for sculpting. Now onto the mask. This is an offcut from a 3D printed moonlight that I used in the Nintendo Bomberman video, so go check that out. It's worth a watch, especially if you're a fan of the game. I'm just using it to keep the curved shape on the mask once it's time for baking. It holds up to the temp in the oven, so it's perfect for the job. And now we're starting to get on with the Deadpool side of the build with some eye patch details. Not Spider-Man, he keeps trying to muscle his way into this build, but not today, sunshine. Your day will come. I'm just putting a slight angle on the edges to tidy them up a little and smooth them over, before using a boba straw to cut out some eye holes, cutting twice, top and bottom, on each eye to make an oval shape. Patches ain't patches without stitches, and these are made by a homemade tool. And now I'm removing some clay so he can be armed with some Nintendo zappers before laying down some more patchwork to really bring in the Deadpool aesthetics. You don't need me to talk over everything, so let's enjoy listening to some retro sound and watch the process for a while. You see I've got a hole at the bottom of his right foot there. You can just make out a thin wire coming out the end of his boot. Well, that is to help route the wire through the tip of his boot and up through his body, so I can pull an electrical wire through for an LED filament for one of his zappers that you'll see shortly. Alright, now let's move on to weaponising this chubby sack of adorable assassin with some signature Deadpool katanas. Only they're not going to be katanas. As a kid, and as an adult in all honesty, because I refused to grow up, I always had a fascination with ninjas, and I always preferred the straight-edged ninja sword to the curved-edged katana, so I'm giving him ninja swords. Even going as far as to put a sharp edge on them, because you just never know what is around the corner, so best be prepared for everything. I cut the shape out of a used hacksaw blade. It's the perfect thickness already, and the perfect tempered hardness, should you need to ninja slice a miniature watermelon. So I'm just using clay to make up the rest of the details on the swords, starting with the guards and making them square because that's the style that I like. And wrapping the blades in foil so I can slide them out once I've pushed them into both sides of the clay scabbard once they have been smoothed together and baked. Right, and now they are both baked on filing a channel to the front of one and the back of the other to form a stronger join once they are glued, just like that. And now onto the handles. I kind of made life harder using clay for these. It probably would have been better using wooden dowels or something like that, but it still worked out fine after a bit of fiddling around. I'm going to wrap them in string anyway. And I'm finishing off the sword scabbards with the plate that you see on Deadpool's swords as part of holding them together in the cross position. Ooh, and now we're on to the painting. That's a good sign. It means we're getting close to wrapping this weird ass video up and getting to the money shots, because that's really what we're here for, isn't it? It's coming, I promise. Just let me wrap these handles up with some string and paint a few more details on Dead Guy so we can get wiring up the Nintendo Zapper for a laser blast. But in the meantime, comment below if you remember the show I'm watching here. Extra points if you remember the theme tune too. And also, my apologies if you now can't get that tune out of your head. Here we go. This is one of those Splatoon Buki miniature Nintendo Zappers from Bandai. When I came across these things, I instantly knew what I wanted to do with it. I just had to figure out how. But one thing is for certain, a pin vise hand drill is needed to drill out the barrel, because I started off using a Dremel and it heated up the plastic so much that it just went limp and put a hole in the side, and I had to repair that off camera. But after all that, I got the desired effect. I just had to figure out how I was going to hide the connection and the wire on the other end of the laser beam. But first, it's time to discover one of Nintendo's deepest, darkest secrets. What does Shy Guy look like, and why does he hide his face behind a mask? Is it really that hideous? Let's find out. Come on, you didn't really think I had the answer, did you? How am I supposed to know? It's still a mystery. But it is time Nintendo showed us what lurks behind the mask. Drop me a comment below and tell me what you think he looks like. Maybe we can start a petition to get the mystery unveiled and take it to the front doors of Nintendo. One thing I should mention is that I pulled the LED filament through a thin clear straw from a juice box or something like that. It was a tight squeeze, but worked perfectly to support the filament and keep it nice and straight. Let's just test out the connection again and move on to how I decided what to do to hide the negative connection and the wire. Now, there is only one direction you can go with when you are working with a Nintendo Zapper, and that is Duck Hunt. It was bundled with a Zapper back in the day and synonymous with the accessory, along with sharing a cartridge with Mario Brothers. Hogan's Alley was in the mix too. That could have been a good option, but for me, Duck Hunt is legendary and a game I loved as a kid, and still do, so it was the only real contender. It also paves the way for my next video and Marvtendo characters. Any guesses on who they will be? Drop a comment below with the guesses. If you get them both right, I will send you a Dead Guy sticker designed by me. Remember, it's one character from Nintendo and one from Marvel. This is a limited time offer, so get your guesses in quick. I guess you have until the next video comes out. Terms and conditions apply. I just don't really know what they are because I've never offered anything before. Just have a bloody guess, alright? See what happens. If you live in a different country, I will still try and make dreams come true. Another 80s cartoon quiz. Anyone remember this one? One of my favourites, this. The figures were epic too. Shit, back to the build. Nope, I've got things to explain, Ace. Right, the tree is the same shape as the game, just 3-dimensional, consisting of a simple armature using different size wire and tubes to run the negative cable through and hot gluing it together before bulking it out in foil and then a final layer of Sculpey. A quick slap of different browns because I couldn't decide on the shade, and then balling up some foil for the leaves to get the shape and size, keeping it the same as the game. And this last one is where the duck will go, so it's going on a tube for the wire to run through. Finishing the tree off with a mix of Woodland Scenics fine turf and matte Mod Podge to give it that leafy look. The base consists of inch-thick foam board. Ignore that hole, that was a mistake, and the wire is going to go through that hole and come out the bottom, along the channel and up through the larger hole where the tree is going to slot into. But first we need to add some grass, and I thought it would be easier and more effective to just use a square of artificial grass. It sticks real well with hot glue, but it was a bitch to cut, so there is no good footage of that, I'm afraid. Just a lot of elbows, flared nostrils and a tongue poking out the side of my mouth. I need to work on my diorama dirt. This is just Mod Podge, sand and brown paint, but it's too much of one and not enough of the other. So I'm covering most of the surface with fine scenic turf and a rock with a hole in it made from plaster of Paris to give Dead Guy some elevation. And to fix the duck to the tree, I'm just going to glue another thin straw to the back of the wing so the negative wire can slide through and be pushed inside the tube branch on the tree. And then that can be pushed into the base so we can finally see how the Dead Guy is going to bring this classic game scene together. Just need to stick him in the hole with some glue and try not to get any on the wire in case I need to pull it out and replace the filament. And then plugging in the laser beam into the duck so we can take care of the last few finishing touches and get on with those money shots. If anyone has any tips they want to share on how to capture the final images, then please reach out because it's the area I struggle with the most and will be working on improving along with everything else of course. But I had a lot of fun building this and I'm excited for the Marvtendo theme because there are plenty of characters already in the pipeline, so stay tuned. And if you enjoyed this build, please hit that like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss what's coming. And thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.